What's up, everybody? I'm WRX here. Not doing a review so much on a cell phone today or any type of technology, but my own personal vehicle. Had a lot of people asking questions. What do I have done to it? All that kind of stuff. How does it drive? That's what we're here to do. Got my new camera mount here, thanks to Ram camera mounts. Seems to be holding up pretty good on the windshield, almost like a GoPro. And this is my 2005 Subaru Impreza WRX. Not an STI, unfortunately. A lot of things that I have done to this car as far as motor work is concerned, suspension work. Probably have a little camera vibration because of the really stiff suspension that I have on the car. So this thing is powered by a stock EJ205 2-liter double overhead cam boxer 4-cylinder. It is not swapped with an STI motor. It is not a hybrid motor. It is a stock WRX engine. It does pretty much have almost every bolt-on. Wow, this thing is really vibrating pretty good, I can tell. It does have pretty much every bolt-on that I could possibly put on this particular car. It has unequal length stainless steel headers on it, Grimspeed external wastegate up pipe with an OBX 38mm external wastegate. Has a Slowboy Racing TD05 18G turbo, which has really good top end to it. Full turbo back exhaust. It's an eBay off name brand, whatever. So nothing fancy, but it sounds good. It's got a rumble inside the car, but it is still fairly quiet to where I can actually talk to you. It has Perrin cold air intake, Perrin turbo inlet hose, Turbo XS top mount intercooler to it. So a lot of really good things on this particular motor. It is ECU tuned using Cobb Access port. It does have some pretty good power and tunability, usability to it. So it does actually do pretty good. It does fairly well. Puts down about 330, 340 wheel horsepower, about 290 pound-feet of torque. So it does do very well. A couple of things I really like about this car is the all-wheel drive. That's something I always wanted. I wanted an all-wheel drive turbocharged car, much like an Evo. Of course, couldn't afford an Evo, but this was a good alternative that I really like. Some things I had to swap. I had to get rid of that glass transmission that these things have. That's a horrible transmission that I have no idea why Subaru put that in here. It's not even able to handle basically what comes out of a 2.5i. I mean, it was just horrible. You put any more power other than stock on it, you're gonna break it. And even then, stock people broke it. It's horrible. So it's been swapped. I have a transmission out of a 1996, 96 Subaru Legacy Spec B from Japan. So this is a Japanese transmission. It's Japanese rear diff. So I had to do a swap on it. It's a little bit closer gear ratio. I went from the stock 390 final drive to a 444 final drive, and what that does is makes the gears closer ratio and it lowers the top end, but it makes the acceleration a heck of a lot quicker. So definitely a upgrade there. Even though it's an older transmission, it actually works very well. So some of the things that I really do like about this car is the all-wheel drive. The handling is pretty good, although just like common Subarus, there is a lot of understeer if you drive it hard in the corner. It's not a very pleasant experience when you're trying to drive one of these into the corners, but overall you really can't complain about it that much. So it does handle pretty good as long as you know how to drive it. This car does have a set of Japanese STI pink springs to it. from the Spec Cs over in Japan, so it is a very stiff spring rate compared to, say, your T&S Techs or your Eibach Pro Kit springs. But if you're looking for something that's going to handle good, and you want something more for competition, these are great springs to go and get. They're a lot stiffer, they're built for racing. Downside is if you're looking for something smooth, controlled ride, something you can drive every day that's not going to bust your back, this is not the car for you. These are not the springs for you, at least. It's got a ton of power, but the problem is you also got to slow it down, and right now, brakes don't really have much of an upgrade there. I have a set of Hawk Performance ceramic brake pads, which do really good. They do have a lot of stopping power. But like typical WRX brakes, there's a tremendous amount of brake fade, and that's horrible. That's what you don't want. So stopping this car from, say, a drag race going 100 miles an hour, you've got to feather the brakes. You got to be on and off the brakes, and that kind of defeats the purpose, especially when I built this car, or at least trying to build this car more for autocross. So having that braking, I need to have that braking power. So that's some of the upgrades that I do plan on doing to this car, is putting more emphasis on handling and braking, trying to get the back end to maybe be a little bit looser so that the front end grips a little bit better. Also having the brakes to be able to stop, slow down a little bit faster. Definitely need to work on that a little bit. Overall, this is a great budget car. I picked this up with 50,000 miles on it, paid $12,500 here in Florida. It is a Florida-owned car. So Subarus are kind of rare here in Florida because nobody buys them. Nobody really cares for them. But to me, it's a great car. I mean, when it rains in the afternoon here, like it pretty much does just about every day, this is great. You know, you get to drive around and basically act like an idiot on the road because everybody else is driving slower than dirt, and to you, no difference. No difference at all. Wet or dry, doesn't matter. It's a lot of fun. Now, this is only a 5-speed, so of course the revs are going to be a little bit higher than if I had that extra 6th gear, and especially since they're shorter, you know, they're not made necessarily for highway driving, so the highway fuel economy, not very good. But if you buy a WRX or an STI, you're not really concerned about fuel economy as much as you are about, well, maybe having fun, considering most WRXs are 5-speed manual transmissions, turbocharged. They don't get the best fuel economy out of the box, although I do have to say when you add the access port, even though it's more horsepower, you get better fuel economy. Kind of weird, but it works. So there's some great things that are about this that I really, really like. There's some things that I despise too. Handling is atrocious. The ride is very stiff. These seats, they might as well be made of plywood. They are kind of fat boy seats. They look like racing seats, but if you take a corner hard enough, you are going to slide out of these things, so they don't really hold you in like they do on the SRT4s or the Evos. The drivetrain noise from the transmission, you can still hear a little bit. There's a lot of rattling and stuff like that. Of course, that has to do somewhat with me having a stiffer suspension and a stiffer chassis on this car than, say, your stock. But even stock, this thing, you can hear all the rattling in the doors, and not so much fun there. But essentially the idea behind these cars is, let's make an extremely cheap car and put it on an extremely expensive drivetrain. It's kind of like taking a Chevy Cavalier and putting it on a Camaro's drivetrain and seeing what happens. Of course it's going to be fast and it's going to be fun to drive, but it's still a cheap car. there's cheap things about this. I mean, the plastic dash, all the cheap pieces that come apart on this thing. I mean, it's, in all honesty, it's a cheap car. I know it's hard to fathom that, but the body panels, everything, it's super lightweight. It only weighs 3,085 pounds, but God, everything is just, it's cheap. I mean, I do have to say that comparing this to the Evo interior, I do have to say that I do like this a little bit better. I do have to say that. It definitely looks a lot nicer, it looks cleaner, particularly if you get an 05 or newer. It has automatic climate control on it. It has a fairly decent CD player that comes with it. It's a 6-disc CD player. Of course, I've swapped mine out, just like everybody usually does. But overall, this does have some great points to it, some stuff that I really, really do like. But it's just not like a luxury car. It's almost like you pay for this thing and you expect to get more. I mean, back in 2005, there really wasn't much on the market that really gave you the bang for the buck like you did with this for $24,000 brand new. However, later on came cars like the Mazda Speed 3, the new Ford Focus ST that's just come out, a couple little sporty turbocharged 4-cylinder cars, whether they're hatchbacks or not. Even the new WRX is a little bit nicer interior, at least it looks nicer. I don't know if it really is that much nicer. But some of the stuff is just really cheap on this. I mean, you get a nice Momo steering wheel, and I have a nice Momo shift knob to it, and the shifter, or the e-brake levers, leather. And you get these nice sport seats to it that look like the STI's Recaros, but they're just not labeled as Recaros, so I guess that's good. The other thing is the back seat. This car apparently was made to be a 2-door car. Only reason they probably made it for a 4-door was to lower insurance, saying that it's a sedan instead of a coupe. But overall, I mean, you can still fit people in the back as long as they're under 5'6", I think, and maybe don't weigh any more than 160 pounds. But if you're a bigger guy like I am, there's no way. That back seat is uncomfortable. But the positive thing is when you lay on this and how much fun it really is. See, it's just so much fun. That was about 85 miles an hour right there. Doesn't seem like much, but that's a lot of fun. That's, I think, where the most fun you get out of this car comes from, is that turbocharger when it kicks in. Now, granted, I do have a little bit of power loss with the AC on, but man, this thing is just so much fun. I mean, overall, I think this is a great buy. If you're looking to buy a used car, you can pick these up, relatively inexpensive. They're fun to drive. They're quick. You can do a lot with them. Maintenance isn't that much or even that hard to do. I know some people probably have nightmare stories about working on a Subaru Boxer engine, but in all honesty, they're pretty good. I like it. I really do. I think that working on this motor is really no different from working on any other engine. You're going to have issues. You're going to have some problems working on it due to confined spaces or whatever. And we're going to throw this into some corners here, just to kind of give you an idea. It really has a lot of grip. See? A lot of fun taking it around some corners there. So, I mean, it does. It kind of gives you some good ideas. This car is a lot of fun. It does do a lot of good things very well. but you also have to take some time. You have to be patient with it. It doesn't take a whole lot of money to modify one of these if you want to go fast. It really doesn't. The problem is the reliability. Much like any car, you start modifying it past the point of no return, and reliability does become an issue. The transmission, for one thing, is horrible. It doesn't matter which one you get. I don't care if they say the 05s are better than the 03s. They're all the same. You're going to break them. It doesn't matter. Having a 2-liter motor, it's alright. If you put a big turbo on it, it does have some boost lag, but you can always deal with that. Overall, it's not a bad car. You can do some great things with this. I think you can have a lot of fun. If you like to do some autocrossing kind of stuff, road course racing, even a little bit of drag racing, this thing is a great value for you to get. Plenty of grip, and the safety is concerned there. I have a daughter myself. One of the things that everybody is concerned about a little bit is safety. And when you're concerned a little bit about safety, you want something that is, well, basically like this, is a built-in roll cage. All Subaru Imprezas have a built-in roll cage. That's why in a couple of firefighter magazines they tell you that you can't use the jaws of life on the B-pillar right here, because it will actually eat the jaws of life. So it's overall it is a safe car. It's all-wheel drive, has 4-wheel disc brakes, ABS, all those nice things, all those really nice things that people usually like when it comes to safety. But it is still fun to drive. It's a sensible car. It makes sense. There are things that you're going to hate about it, just like any car that you have out there. Like American cars. I hate American cars because their interiors are stupid cheap. Alright? Everything's made of plastic on them. They're horrible, unless you buy like new Fords or Chryslers. But most cars around this time period, 2005, were built like garbage. Couldn't get anything that was quality. And Toyota, the car company that had quality, didn't have anything fun back in 2005. This was a great car. This was a bargain that you could get. That's why I like this car. I like the Evos. I like the STIs. I think they're great cars. But if you're a person like me, you can't afford one of those for $40,000. Even used now, they're still going for $20,000 to $25,000 for a good one. This car made it so that an average Joe like myself could afford this. I think it's great. I think that having that ability, having that little bit of fun factor. Oops, I'm sorry. Yeah, you weren't going to stop at all. I was rolling through and I couldn't get the AC kicked off. But I think rolling around and having that little bit of fun is completely worth it. I think that having a fun car to drive that's sensible, that's a daily driver that can be used every day, I think that this car is great. So to give you an idea, this has pretty much been my car. 2005 Subaru Impreza WRX. A little bit of fun, not too much, still sensible, but kind of a little uncomfortable at the same time. So, hope everybody enjoys this, and have a nice day. Also, if you like the video, just leave some comments in the section below, and let me know what you think. I have a lot of fun with this car, and I hope you all enjoy the video. I know it's not much of anything exciting, but to explain a little bit about my car, this is kind of what I want to do. I want to do some car reviews, so I point out the good things and the bad things even with my own car. So leave some comments below, try to respond to them, and thank you. Deuces.